Zhang Jianguo keeps an elephant in the zoo. Elephants, on the surface, seem harmless and generally calm most of the time. Just give them something to eat, and everything is fine. Zhang Jianguo believes that dealing with animals is much more relaxing than dealing with people. Animals are simple, give them food, and they treat you well, deny them, and they'll seek your approval. He finds this uncomplicated relationship between humans and animals suits him perfectly. Even when his recently promoted elder cousin hinted at changing his job several times, Zhang tactfully refused. He appreciates the simplicity of the zoo, where, apart from the strong scent of animals, funds are allocated generously for garden renovations every year. When not attending to the elephants, Zhang enjoys the southeast corner of the zoo with its vast lawn at his disposal. His only concern is returning to human society and dealing with people. His wife calls, complaining about garbage being thrown down from the upstairs balcony, drenching their own balcony. She scolds him for being a pushover, not employing the online strategies to retaliate against the upstairs neighbors. Zhang Jianguo had encountered the upstairs couple before, clearly not the friendliest folks. The first time they threw something down, he, under his wife's urging, went upstairs to negotiate as a man. However, it turned out to be a diplomatic mismatch, with the upstairs couple being more assertive than expected. Not only did they refuse to apologize, but they also asserted that the terrace was a public area, not their private balcony, and they could throw whatever they liked. It was a downright rogue theory. Initially, the developer clearly stated that the second-floor apartments had poor lighting and were compensated with free access to the terrace. Being an honest man, even benefits can turn into a burden. On Tuesday at work, just after finishing cleaning, Zhang Jianguo was preparing feed for the elephants when the zoo director urgently called. The manager of Monkey Mountain, Zhu Jia, had suddenly fainted, and Zhang was asked to help and take her to the hospital. As ambulances couldn't enter the zoo, Zhang Jianguo left his tasks, rushed to Monkey Mountain, and carried Zhu Jia towards the zoo's exit. He accompanied her to the hospital. While paying the hospitalization fees, he unexpectedly spotted his wife, Hulin. Not only Hulin, but there was also another man, seemingly having just had a blood test. Hulin draped her coat over the man, who casually put his arm around her waist while she gently embraced his. Just like in TV dramas. Zhang Jianguo's initial instinct was to charge over, but his second thought held him back. What could he do by rushing over? The two were just being affectionate, it wasn't catching them in the act. Moreover, the hospital was crowded, and the situation would be incredibly awkward. So, like a slow-moving elephant, Zhang Jianguo ambled towards them. Hulin noticed him first, released the man, and pushed his hand away from her shoulder. A look of disbelief appeared on her face. As Zhang Jianguo approached, she suddenly asked, "What are you doing here?" Stuttering, Zhang Jianguo explained the situation as if he had committed some unspeakable deed. The man beside Hulin remained composed, crossing his legs and taking out his phone to check messages. Hulin casually said, "What a coincidence, I'm here to accompany a colleague for a medical checkup." With 100 questions in his mind, like why a male colleague needed her presence and whether her own family wasn't enough, Zhang Jianguo didn't ask a single one. After dealing with Zhu Jia's matters, Zhang Jianguo, exhausted, went straight home. His body was tired, but the weariness in his heart outweighed physical fatigue. He couldn't accept what he saw in the hospital. Mechanically, he went to the balcony to retrieve the clothes. Suddenly, he was disgusted by the sight, another delivery plastic bag, mixed with some chicken bones and similar trash, neatly scattered in the middle of the balcony. No need to guess, it was the upstairs neighbors again. An unidentifiable anger surged from his heart. He turned and stormed upstairs. He knocked on the door, and a woman opened it with a sharp look. "What do you want?" Under her gaze, Zhang Jianguo's anger dissipated by more than half. When the man inside asked, "Who is it?" later, the anger disappeared completely. He heard himself saying in an almost humble tone, "We agreed not to throw garbage. Why did you do it again?" The woman raised her voice, "Who agreed with you? When did we agree? The terrace isn't your home, who said you can control what we throw?" The man joined in, "Why bother with him? He's just nuts." The door slammed shut, and Zhang Jianguo couldn't extend his hand to knock again. He wearily returned home. Shortly after, Hulin arrived. The suppressed anger reignited upon seeing her. He asked in a low voice, "What's your relationship with that man?" Hulin casually replied, "Whatever relationship you think it is, it is. Is worrying about it every day useful?" What kind of logic was that? Zhang Jianguo wanted to slap her, but he didn't dare. He sat there, trembling, and lit a cigarette. On Monday, Zhang Jianguo was summoned by the zoo director, who informed him that Zhu Jie needed a rest, and during this time, he would be responsible for Monkey Mountain. The director nonchalantly said, "Jianguo, you're an old-timer in our zoo, you should understand that our budget is tight. We can't afford to pay you extra for taking care of Monkey Mountain. Please understand the organization's difficulties." Zhang Jianguo opened his mouth but couldn't utter a word. He was like this, unable to refuse even when others' requests were unreasonable. He went to Monkey Mountain as scheduled. Unlike elephants, monkeys were noisy. They jumped and screeched around. After cleaning for a while, Zhang Jianguo's head began to buzz. Not only that, the monkeys bullied him. A massive monkey suddenly reached over and slapped him on the head from behind. Zhang Jianguo was at a loss. Feeding time was even more chaotic, monkeys weren't afraid of him. They even dared to jump next to him to snatch food. He pushed them, and they mimicked pushing him. The surrounding visitors burst into laughter, and at that moment, Zhang Jianguo felt like he had turned into a monkey. If he had known that Monkey Mountain would be so hard to manage, he wouldn't have come. After enduring the humiliation of feeding the monkeys, he had to go attend to the elephants. Fortunately, the elephants were friendly. One even extended its trunk, gently circling around him, a gesture of comfort. At that moment, he felt tears welling up. Bullied by neighbors, suppressed by superiors, and now his wife's infidelity. He wanted to tell the elephants, "I live a simple life, treat people kindly, so why has it come to this?" The next day, Zhang Jianguo, along with colleagues, went to the hospital to visit Zhu Jie. Zhang Jianguo complained about the difficulty of managing Monkey Mountain. Zhu Jie laughed, "You think monkeys are like your elephants? Do you know the best way to handle monkeys?" Zhang Jianguo shook his head in confusion. Zhu Jie said, "Hit them. Just hit them." Zhang Jianguo was stunned. The zoo had rules against animal cruelty, and Zhu Jie was being so straightforward. He had never hit an elephant. But thinking about it, the elephants hadn't done anything wrong. Even when taking food from his hands, they were so gentle. On the way back, he felt melancholic and extremely frustrated. In the afternoon, when he took over the shift, while sweeping the monkey enclosure with his head down, suddenly, his head was heavily scratched. When he turned around, he saw that enormous monkey making faces at him, seemingly smiling. A few other monkeys were watching curiously. Thinking of Zhu Jie's words, he raised the broom. But remembering the zoo's regulations, he hesitated. Just as he was about to lower the broom, the indecisive monkey rushed at him, attempting to grab the broom. In that instant, the pent-up gunpowder in Zhang Jianguo's heart ignited. He tightly gripped the broom, indiscriminately swinging it at the big monkey. At first, the monkey tried to grab him, but after taking a few solid hits, it started running away. Unfazed, Zhang Jianguo continued to chase and relentlessly struck the monkey with a storm of blows. The big monkey, now frightened, cowered in a corner, shielding its head with its front paws, motionless. Other monkeys, too shocked, scattered and fled after a moment. It wasn't until Zhang Jianguo noticed tourists outside taking pictures that he stopped. He had expected the zoo director to criticize him for this, even prepared a theoretical argument. However, from finishing off the monkey until the end of his shift, the director didn't come to him at all. For the first time, he thought that maybe nobody in the zoo followed the rules. Except for him, the honest man, everyone else might assume that hitting and scolding were just part of the job. Returning home to a cold stove, Hulin was chatting happily on the sofa, her language lively and her expression flirtatious. With a stern face, Zhang Jianguo asked, "Who are you chatting with?" Without lifting her head, Hulin replied, "What's it to you?" Zhang Jianguo casually grabbed a cup from the table. Hulin didn't notice that Zhang Jianguo was different today. She continued, "I can chat with anyone. Just not with a wimp like you." With a sudden crash, Zhang Jianguo fiercely smashed the cup onto the floor. Hulin screamed, realizing, "Have you gone crazy, Zhang Jianguo? What the hell are you doing?" Before she finished, Zhang Jianguo had already grabbed her hair, pulled her to the floor, and with one hand on her neck, the other slapping her repeatedly. In that moment, Hulin's disdain, the hospital man's crossed legs, the neighbor woman's fierce gaze, and even the seemingly smiling monkey, all flashed before his eyes. A broom, gleaming with golden light, also swept through these elements as if to wipe them all away. Hulin's cries attracted the attention of the neighbors. They rushed over, slapping questions about what happened. Hulin seized the opportunity, broke free from Zhang Jianguo, and opened the door. The neighbors were shocked to see the usually submissive Zhang Jianguo flipping Hulin over, kicking and hitting her. They quickly intervened, finally restraining Zhang Jianguo. He was held by both hands, still angrily shouting, "I'll kill you. Kill all of you. Anyone who makes my life miserable, I'll kill them." All the neighbors were horrified. Wasn't this the guy who always smiled and seemed so timid? Hulin subsequently called the police, but she didn't insist on holding Zhang Jianguo accountable. Instead, she used the police report as evidence and filed for divorce the same day. Zhang Jianguo didn't say a word. The earlier frenzy had drained all his strength. But his brain was still excited. Suddenly, he realized a truth. Why are elephants gentle? Because elephants are too powerful, they don't care about anyone, so it doesn't matter. But monkeys are different, they are inherently weak. If they don't show their teeth and claws, they might not even survive. He used to like comparing himself to an elephant. In reality, he was far from it. The next morning, in the elevator, Zhang Jianguo encountered the neighbors upstairs. The woman glanced at Zhang Jianguo, and as she met his fierce gaze, she quickly averted her eyes. The man, breaking the tradition, greeted Zhang Jianguo, "Good morning." Whether they heard about the incident or not, Zhang Jianguo thought, the terrace of his house would probably be fine from now on. However, whether he would still own the house and the terrace remained uncertain. It seemed ironic. Zhang Jianguo planned to give his elder cousin a call, saying that he didn't want to mix with innocent animals anymore. Since animals and people were alike, he wanted a different job, a different way of living. Since divorce was the end, it could also be a new beginning. The beginning of a new life for a once honest man.